Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I trust that you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the price action of Tfuel. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe and tick that bell for notifications. Let's get into the video. And here we have Tfuel up on the daily chart in trading view. Tfuel versus the USDT on the daily. If any of you are new to technical analysis, you can actually use trading view for free. I'll leave a link for that in the description down below, as well as the pinned comments. We see that price action is moving to the upside here and even coming in just yesterday, putting a test in on the 0.382, which is the first level of interest that I'm paying attention to here, around 39.5 cents. And I'm looking for a daily candle body closure. I mean, looking left here, we see a wick getting up to that 0.382 here. We see that as well here. And of course, back here, we see some wicks. However, this is hindsight, as we were waiting for the bottom to get stuck in here before, stretching a accurate bearish Fibonacci retracement. But when we pull the Fibonacci retracement back into time, we can see that, hey, this price level actually was respected here, as well as here. And then, of course, here again. And here we are testing it once more. And I want to see a daily candle body close above that level, because we can clearly see, looking left, that whoever's selling this area, whether that's Binance or whatever manipulation was going on at that time, they're clearly watching these levels, because when they step in, pretty heavy selling comes on the heels of it. So that's why I like to pay attention to those areas. And I look for just simply a candle body closure. If we get a candle body closure, that's very different than a wick followed by disgusting dumping to the downside, which means that whoever was interested in selling that area in the past is no longer interested in doing so, whether that's a bot or algorithm or a combination between those two, as well as, whether that was Binance or whatever, whoever's doing it is watching those areas. And, maybe it was Binance. I mean, they do have an exchange and they would likely be programming bots and algos to those areas. And so anyway, I'm looking for that daily candle body closure there. It doesn't offer up a guarantee, but it says, hey, something different is going on here. And whoever's doing this is no longer doing it. Therefore, it becomes probable that more upside price action will be initiated. Not a guarantee, as it is technical analysis, not a crystal ball, but it's like, hey man, we're seeing a change of behavior here. Maybe we should be developing a bias to the upside at this point in time. If we get daily candle body closures above that level, I will be watching the 0.5, as that is another very key level for bots, algos, big market movers. They watch these areas, so I will also watch these areas, as my success depends upon my ability to be able to identify these areas and look for those changes of behavior, because I just sadly don't have enough money to move this market. So anyway, that's why we watch those areas very, very closely, as they can be self-fulfilling prophecies. And as of right now, we do see just yesterday, Tfuel did test that area. So let's look for that closure up above there. My condition to the downside will remain the same. If we start seeing closures coming in down below this area here, not only will we be taking out a lot of these moving averages, closing below that 200 simple moving average, as well as the 0.236. So a lot of confluence coming in there. That should serve as strong support. And if it doesn't, that is a warning shot. If it gets down below this area here, which I marked in the last video, 28.5 cents, that's when I think Tfuel would be signaling at least a test of this liquid zone down below that I've already marked out in purple here. That has the top side coming in around 23 cents and the bottom side coming in around 21.5 cents. We see the 377, if you look very closely, living just, well, it was in the middle of the liquid zone last video, but now it's working its way up to the top side. So at the very least, likely a pretty big bounce, unless something very catastrophic is going on in the market at that point in time. But that is not my bias. My bias is to the upside here. We do see the bulls putting in a lot of work. This is coming off the heels of a pretty significant correction to the downside, crash, whatever you want to call it. If you saw anything like this in the traditional market, that would be crash city. I mean, this would be tripping the circuit breaker the whole way down. But only in cryptocurrency land we see these massive moves. And like I was saying all throughout this price action, this is not for the squeamish, because these moves can happen and there's nothing stopping it. The only thing that's going to stop it is when the sellers are good and done selling, and perhaps they are at this point in time, and we'll be monitoring the situation. For me, of course, I set targets with TA. That's all part of it. You can call that a prediction if you will, but most important for me is that TA is I'm looking for how to make an actionable plan. I'm trying to use this to plan. I also have conditions that are bias busters, as I'm fully aware it's not a crystal ball and there's a hell of a lot more going on than just price action. But boy, can we get a good read on an asset by observing the behavior between buyers and sellers, as they are one of the biggest components of markets. They are the psychology that drives the markets, and then you have bots and algorithms that are programmed to that psychology, and you can tell a hell of a lot by just looking at a chart. But that's why I always put conditions to the downside, so that I have somewhere on a chart that I can say, okay, my bias is now busted. So if I'm looking for upside, hey, that idea is now wrong. It's my responsibility as a mature trader and a mature investor to put my emotions aside and go, all right, it's time to look for some potential downside at that point. I don't think that's what's going on here, but at least I have a condition in the chart that I can look at unemotionally and go, hey, price action did roll over. It's time to let go of that upwards idea and be looking for some areas to the downside where price action could catch a bounce. If I'm trading an asset, I don't trade Tfuel, by the way, but I do with some of the other altcoins that are available on Themex specifically. But that's where I look for new ideas. Now, if price action does roll here and get down to this liquid zone, I would be looking for at least a bounce in this area, at least, and I would respect it as an area to potentially reverse price action once again, as we saw this beautiful bounce coming in here, nice engulfing candle here, and then price action trying to scoop its way back to the upside. So that's why I always put those conditions in the chart. I always have something where I can go, all right, maybe I'm wrong about my idea. Where is that area? Down here in the momentum oscillators, we see the RSI working its way back up to the bullish control zone. We haven't seen an official test of it just yet. After a pretty significant pullback on the RSI like this, I do look for rejection on first pass. Doesn't have to happen, but it's very common. So if we see the RSI get up there and have a little bit of rejection off this area here, then I'll be looking for it to come and base off the exponential at some point. Those two will kiss each other at some point, and we do see that the EMA here has a nice aggressive slope to the upside. So again, I'd be bullishly biased on the RSI, but it is technically speaking in the neutral zone here. We want to see it get into the bullish control zone as price action continues to work its way to the upside. The key to momentum oscillators is using them in confluence with price action. Price action is always king. We look for major divergences first and foremost. I like to spot divergences in critical areas, down oversold areas and overbought areas. But at the end of the day, you can also use it just to kind of look and get a feel for what the momentum is doing within the market alongside the price action. So overall, still fairly neutral here. It looks to be rolling a little bit here. We'll look for a test of the EMA, and then we do ultimately want to see that get into the bullish control zone as price action resolves some of these key areas. That would be looking very good. Stochastics down below here. Let's have a look at them. Very much getting into the bullish control zone here. Momentum definitely up, so that's looking good. Down on the MACD, we do see a fresh bullish cross not too long ago. Right now, we do see that the momentum is waning a little bit on the histogram here. Too early to judge that, though, as moving averages are working their way to the upside. And it wouldn't take much for the histogram to build some momentum here, but at the end of the day, we do see that waning just a little bit. Not unusual, as the moving averages cross over the zero read of the y-axis back into the bullish territory here. So I wouldn't be taking any of that to the bank. Down below here in the volatility, we see it laying right on the floor right now. We see not only the EMA down there, but we see the volatility down there. And I was just saying in a theta video that the way I like to look at this metaphorically is that when volatility gets down on the floor like this, anything below a 10 read is extremely low volatility. And I view this kind of like a gas tank. Zero, so I look at it inverse. At a zero read here or below a 10, that gas tank is full. The volatility is not going to give us direction here. We look to price structure for that, and then we look for confluence among the momentum oscillators. But if the price action decides on the direction of the move, and this sucker here is laying on the floor, that gas tank is full. So in other words, if price action starts to rip to the upside, it has the potential to do that. It's not going to take much. I mean, we even see the contraction in the volume here as well. I mean, we see volatility coiling right in. We see the bulls hinting at some upwards momentum here. Again, no major divergences necessarily to be going off of there right now. And a major for me, like I was saying, is divergences coming from those critical areas. But we are seeing a little bit of bullish momentum beginning to show up here. We're seeing price structure supporting that. And if we start seeing some big green candles coming in, well, the gas tank is full. It's not until it gets up here around the 100 read and becomes red as the devil's dick, as they would say, that's when the gas tank is kind of getting empty. We're looking for some contraction. Again, it's not going to give you the direction, but it's going to support the direction. And it's going to show you that, hey, I mean, this does look good. I mean, I have to say, this does look good. I am biased to the upside here. But again, I do need to see closures. My opinion means nothing. it becomes actionable when I see closures within the price action. I cannot predict this like a crystal ball. However, if those conditions begin to be met within the chart, this will be looking good. It really well. And the next area we'll be looking at is a 0.5 coming in around that 45 cent mark. Getting closures above that, we look to the 0.618. That's coming in at around 50 cents. And we will also be looking for volume to be confirming that. We do see it picking up. We see a couple green candles coming in here. Yeah, a little bit of wick action here. Again, that's a very key area. Anyone that follows along with these analysis knows that isn't surprised by that kind of price behavior around those key areas, as it is a pretty staunch resistance. We see it right back here. We see it here. And we see it here. But we've already beat that horse right to death. And I do believe it was already dead before we started beating it. So we'll stop doing that. But we do see volume getting above the moving average, beginning to engulf the last several days of volume read. So it's looking like some good price action could enter in soon. However, if this rolls to the downside and we see those closures happening down below there and volatility picking up, then volatility would be supporting downside price action at that point in time. So definitely keep that in mind. But overall, things are looking good. As long as Bitcoin holds up well and we see the rest of the market continue on with its bullish trajectory, then I think Tfuel will finally be ready to join the party at that point in time, as it has been a laggard. Anyhow, this video has gone on long enough. I'll be keeping an eye on this and bringing updates as new data presents itself. Thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. Looking forward to seeing the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.